Bonus question. Wealth versus hustling, how are they related?
How are they related? You mean like lineage, parentage,
Generational trauma.
generation? Anyway, okay. So let's identify what hustling is. So the idea of a hustle, there's actually several definitions of the word, but for right now, the working definition of hustle is going to be that you grind to get to your goal. Okay. So you work really hard, you devote,
Sacrifice.
yeah, you sacrifice your energy, your time, all that to obtain your goal. Okay. And then the other definition of a hustle is something that you were using to obtain money or capital or something to this effect, right?
Mm.
So if you put those together, you have your definition of it. But for right now, we're going to talk about the grind, the really hard working towards your goal part. Okay. So let's look at driving. Okay. When you learn how to drive, you learn a few things. First, you got to learn the basics of the vehicle, right? Such as you're not driving from the back seat. Okay.
Mm.
So, like, unless the car is actually designed that way, and there are actually cars that are designed that way, but generally, that is not the case, right? So you're not driving from the back seat. You gotta learn how to get in the driver's seat. You gotta learn what the gas pedal is, and you gotta learn what the brake is. You gotta learn all the basics, right? This is before you ever get in the car. Now, would you say that you worked really hard to learn those basics? No.
No.
Someone just showed them to you, and
Practice
you
a little bit.
practice a little. Well, you haven't gotten to practice yet,
Hmm.
but someone showed them to you. You got the basic idea of what it is. You know what your emergency brake looks like. You know what the radio looks like. You probably don't know what that looks like, but you know what that looks like. You know how to operate the windshield. You know like what it feels like to sit in there. You know how to adjust your seat so that you're comfortable while you're driving. Okay, cool. You got the basic idea of what it's like to be in the vehicle. So then now it's time for you to get onto the road, right? And maybe you don't necessarily get into the road in terms of that, but you could get into like one of
Empty
the
parking lot or
empty
something.
parking lot,
Yeah.
right? So then you just get accustomed to the vehicle moving, right? So you're hitting the gas, but you're a little nervous, so you like let go of the pedal or you hit the brake because you feel you're not accustomed to the speed of the car moving when you're the one in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
right? So you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm the one doing this shit, right? So again, did you really work all that hard to do that? No, you got exposed to what it took in order to do that. So then maybe you practiced a little bit. Okay. So you got into the empty lot, you got accustomed to what it was like to drive in the empty lot. You learned how to turn the car, you learned how to keep the car straight, you learned how to do a circle, you learned how to even stop the car where you wanted to stop. Okay. So you learn how to measure distance between you and the line. You learn all these things. But again, you're not working hard to do these things. You're just becoming aware that these things are taking place. Okay. So now, even when you get onto the road, now this dynamic can continue forever. I've illustrated that point enough. You're not working hard to do these things to get to where you want to go because eventually you are putting the time in. That's it. You're putting the time in and you're getting your feelings in check when it comes to performing that act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where does hustle fit into this? Okay. The idea of the hustle is that you have to sacrifice your time in order to do all the stuff that I just finished talking about. Okay. But if you want to learn how to drive, at which point is that a sacrifice? You know that you're going to put the time in. You're going to have to put the time in to do that in order to get to the point where you can drive. It'd be no different than if you were flying an airplane, right? Or even if you were learning gymnastics. Again, it's all different stuff. But the premise is the same. You're not grinding per se to do these things and get nowhere, which is a lot of the hustle, right? So you're grinding. Now, let's actually take the motion of a grind. If you're grinding something, what does that mean? It means you're stationary, okay? If you're grinding something, let's say you're grinding cheese. I'm serious.
Yeah.
You're grinding cheese, you get the cheese grater
Like
and you're
grating
grinding.
it? Oh,
Yeah, you're grinding your cheese. Well, guess what? You're stationary. You're not moving. So why in the world would you want to be stationary and not moving when you're doing your shit, right? Why would you want to do that? You would want to move in a direction where you're making progress. And in the car example I gave, all of that was progress, not grinding, not struggling, not suffering, just progress. Okay, that's it. So wealth versus the hustle or the grind, right? Grinding requires a lot of you staying in the same spot in order to get somewhere, right? But that doesn't make any sense because if you're staying in the same spot, you're not getting anywhere, right? So people who spend all these years hustling, guess what? They haven't gotten anywhere. They haven't gotten anywhere. All right. Now I know like there's Gary V, right? Love Gary V. I love his stuff. I don't know if he does it so much now, but he used to talk a lot about the hustle and the grind and the hard work.
Yeah.
But even if you listen to any of Gary V's books, right? And he does talk about that. Gary V is a very calculated guy, right? He's very specific about the moves he makes. No, the moves he makes. I didn't say the grind he's on. Okay. He is very specific about the moves he makes. He's very like, okay, no, we're not doing this. I noticed this trend. We're going to go take advantage of this, doing this because this is what is showing me. So let me go take advantage of that. He's very calculated and he makes moves. He makes pivots every single day. But in order to do that, you can't be grinding because if you're grinding something, again, you're not moving anywhere. Okay. So if you want to have wealth, you need to get command of your time and your energy, which automatically means even if you have millions of dollars and you're on the grind, you wouldn't have wealth because you don't have your time to yourself. You have dedicated all that time to grinding away. You don't need to grind away. You need to look at how to make progress.
Yeah. When I think of hustling in my head, this is exactly what you were just saying. I think of like rushing. Like I've got to hustle. I got to get somewhere. You're looking to the future. You are missing what's happening. You are rushing. You're not paying attention. So even then, you're not getting anywhere.
Yep. Like because then you'll have to go back.
You're going to have to go back. Yeah. If you're hustling down the highway at 90 miles an hour and you miss your fucking exit, then you got to go back and try to get the exit again. But if you're still hustling, you're going to fucking miss it again. So hustling and grinding are not necessary. But if you look at it like, oh, it's just the steps. It's just what I'm doing to move forward. Okay, sure. It's not that wealth comes from inaction.
No.
Or just sitting around being like, I am abundant. I am free. I am wealthy. No, there's action.
Yeah, there's action.
There's progress. There's you doing things you haven't done before, doing new things, doing different things, paying attention to what's happening and leaning into the things that get a reaction, a result. And none of it has to be difficult.
There's also, on the vein of that, there's also paying attention to your intuition because your intuition can save you an immense amount of energy and time when it comes to this. Yeah. Because like for me, my intuition is always progress. How are we making progress? How are we moving forward? How are we expanding? Like, at least that's how I'm approaching it. Right. So like, it's all about progress. It's not about, let me see how much I can grind and force myself to do things I don't want to do. And this kind of, which is also part of the hustle idea is that you're doing something you don't really want to be doing. Right.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. The sacrifice of self in order to obtain some idea of wealth that when you get there, you still don't feel like you have it.
Because you lost yourself.
Yeah. You lost yourself in the process. So then people end up having to go backwards to do that. Like there was an analogy I heard and I loved it. It was, you don't see monks going to millionaires asking them how to be rich, but you do see millionaires going to monks asking them how they can be happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you don't see that. Now I've met my share of monks. So I'm saying this also from my own experience. Like you just don't see it.
Yeah. I used to hang out with monks.
Yeah.
Like every day.
Yeah. So you don't see it. But you see all kinds of millionaires and wealthy people going to the monasteries looking to find happiness or peace in some way. So, and the thing is, I heard that phrase from a monk. So,
from a monk.
Yeah.
A self-aware monk.
Yeah. Is that you don't see that, right?
Yeah.
So.
It's like one or the other. You gonna allow yourself to have wealth, or are you gonna do the hustle and the grind and tell yourself you're creating wealth?
And to me, wealth is nothing more than being able to own your time. Like money comes along with that, being able to own your time. When I say own your time, I don't necessarily mean just doing nothing, of course. I mean whenever you want to do something or you get the idea to do something, you just go do it, right? Like you do it. There's nothing getting in your way. There's nothing stopping you. There's no story. There's no nothing. You will do what it takes. There are people on social media who will travel with no money, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll like that guy we met in Scotland, the guy with the glasses.
The glasses.
Yeah, that guy. He came from South Africa. He had no money. The challenge that he was on, and I fucking loved it. The challenge that he was on was he could only go place to place from what he sold while he was in that location.
He had these the sunglasses that were like different colors
Uh-huh.
that he was selling.
Yep.
For $5 each.
Yep. And the only way that he could travel to the next place he had to go was from the money that he made from the sales of those glasses. It was a TikTok challenge that he was on. And I was like, I fucking love this.
Sick.
I even gave the guy money. I wasn't even interested in the glasses. I just gave him money because I fucking loved the whole idea. I was like, yes, this guy's, he's like, I don't have any money. I'm not, like, he was telling us, like, oh, yeah, I'm poor. I don't have any money. But I managed to do it by doing this. And I was just like, see, I love that hustle. Man, you go do your thing.
The hustle.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I love his grit, whatever you want to say. Like, I love that he just got up and did it.
I'm glad you said hustle just then, because it's the words don't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's not about the words. It's the perspective, the behavior that you're choosing to engage in.
Yeah, this guy was just, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I got this. Like, I didn't see the guy after that. Well, actually, no, we did. We saw him, like, he was talking to some other people, and he was, like, interviewing them, and this and another. Like, the guy was just doing his thing. I really appreciated the fact that he was doing that, I saw a lot of that in Scotland, that people just didn't care. Like, they just, like, I want to do this thing, so I'm doing it.
I want to work at a game store, so I'm working at a game store.
I'm working at a game store. They're like, well, is that what you wanted to do? They're like, yes.
Yes.
Right? It's like, okay, cool.
That's why I'm doing it.
That's why I'm doing it, right? There was a lot of that in Scotland, and I love that.